Sometimes, in an increasingly busy and complex world, we forget the simple lessons. We can celebrate and connect with people all around us. The More You NoCo is Northern Colorado's podcast, driving community and making the areas north of Denver feel just a little closer. Social connection makes lives healthier and better. So do cookies. Well, maybe. The holidays are in full swing, and that means it's time for an unusual amount of sweets and treats. Whew. They're hard to avoid, folks, but hey, everything in moderation, right? Today's guest is the founder and owner of The Happy Cookie, a one-stop shop creative cookie and cake company based in Greeley. I am not being paid in cookies nor money to tell you this, but you have to see Nikki's artwork on these cookies for yourself. They are stunning. Also, do you have an opinion about Elf on the Shelf or so-called Christmas spirit? We'll get into that too. Here she is, Nikki Barrios. Okay, welcome listeners out there. I sit here in person at the Pharr Regional Library with Nikki Barrios, the owner and founder of The Happy Cookie.
Yes.
So, hello and good morning.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Of all the entrepreneurial avenues you could go down, you picked cookies and baking.
Yes.
How did this start and why cookies?
I've always liked drawing and being like creative, making things. It started off with cakes. I made my niece's first birthday cake and it was awful. It was awful.
Like
and
looked awful or tasted awful?
Yes, looked awful. And okay. I was up to like 3 o'clock in the morning trying to fix it. It was more of like a challenging thing. Just kept trying to make cakes after that. And then...
How old were you in this first?
Oh my, how old was I? Okay, my niece is going to be 12. So it's been about 11 years or so. So I would have been 21-ish.
So first cake as an adult?
Yes. Yeah, it was really bad. So then I just kept trying, and then I got pretty burnt out on making cakes. So switched gears and started messing with cookies. That was about 2.5 years ago. I was on maternity leave after I had my second child. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of bored, so I started messing with cookies, and here we are.
Yeah. And where did the name Happy Cookie come from?
Oh, I don't know. I was trying to come up with all sorts of different names, but they all kind of sound the same. There was a group text going on with my family, basically, and I was running names through them, and this is the only one that they didn't, find a way to make fun of, really.
Okay.
There was one situation where being in Colorado and the Happy Cookie being the name, I was asked if there was any extra ingredients in my cookies. And I didn't even think about that until someone mentioned it. But it's never really come up again.
You're like, it's not the laughing cookie.
Yeah, I'm like, there's
not the hungry
nothing.
Cookie.
Right.
That's funny.
Yeah.
And when you started delving into the world of cookies, burnt out on cakes, was this all self-taught?
Yeah, cakes and cookies all self-taught.
Wow.
So I've made some pretty terrible looking ones, but I feel like I've got it down. I mean, there's always something that comes up that I've kind of moved on to different techniques now, just trying to challenge myself a bit. So. And
how do you find new techniques for cookie making? This is a world that's alien to me.
There's kind of a world out there of YouTube and stuff. It's getting more popular, so kind of phases like cakes and cake pops and different sorts of baking things. So this is kind of coming up in the popularity, I think. So you'll probably be seeing more stuff.
I'm definitely going to blow up the Instagram with this cookie you brought me. But I can't even, I'm looking at this cookie and I have no idea. So Nikki replicated the More You NoCo's logo on the top of a cookie. I don't even want to eat this. I feel like
that's what people say.
I got to hang this in my office.
Just eat it. Just do it.
At some point, you've never made a batch of cookies, and now you're like drawing portraits. And,
right.
And how do you? Is this? There's no way that's stencil work. I mean, this is by hand.
I do a lot of hand painting and drawing on the cookies, but that particular one, there's a stencil to make the mountain scene. So, but it's royal icing That's the main icing that I use. Buttercream is like cake icing. It's a little bit softer, but the kind I use is soft. It hardens up where you can stack them, but it's not like crunchy or anything. So
we are definitely going to have to decide between the two of us what to put on the Instagram, because your product, there's so many photos I've seen on your Facebook page that I wanted to repost. There's too many. And it's just so multifaceted. I was like, oh, there's these fruit ones.
Right.
And then I saw these cookies that you did for like sporting events. Mm-hmm. You know, when someone gives you an order, how do you decide how to make this come to fruition? Do you look up ideas? Do you feel like it comes from your head? Or
most of the time, when somebody gives me a theme, something automatically pops in my head. And the ones that don't, I struggle with a little bit, because it's like, not that I'm not feeling it, but a little bit, it just is a little more of a struggle. But usually I just come up with the ideas in my head. Something usually pops up pretty quickly. So, and then other times people give me ideas that they prefer. Some people are very particular and they want every cookie to be something different, out of an order of a dozen. For the most part, everyone gives me creative freedom, I'd say.
So do some people say, all right, Nikki, I want 12 cookies. And the 6th one is going to look like this, and the 7th one's going to look like this.
Some people do.
Really?
Not a lot, but there's a couple that do.
Yeah, I will say one of my surprises after looking at your work was, I guess ignorantly I might have expected that all 12 cookies would be the same. But I didn't see a single photo in which that was the case.
Yeah.
They were mixes.
Yeah, there's been a couple. I did an order for a bank, actually, and they have Converse sneakers. And that was 250 cookies. So it was 250 Converse sneakers, all the same. And I was kind of going crazy by the end of that because it's so repetitive. But I like mixing in different styles in the order. So
by the end of 250 Converse cookies, were you changing them on purpose? Just little tweaks here and there?
There, about halfway through, I did change like one thing that was taking too much time and I didn't think made a significant difference like in the design. So, and I knew no one would notice except for myself. So I did change something, but
that's fascinating.
I was like laying on the ground basically by the end of it. Like it was like a marathon of cookies. So.
And it was all the same exact cookie.
Same exact
cookie. As a person who does not like repetition, that would drive me mad.
It was pretty brutal, but...
And you're working out of your home kitchen?
Yes,
right?
I am.
How do you process an order of 250 cookies?
The funny thing is my husband always gives me grief because I have one favorite cookie sheet, and it's like this old, probably the first cookie sheet I ever bought. And I put parchment paper down when I bake, but it's just this terrible, probably really cheap cookie sheet. And so I bake like 6 cookies at a time, essentially. No. I bought some new, like, nicer pans, but I just don't like them.
What is it about this OG pan?
I don't know. It's just seasoned, I guess. Well, I don't know.
Nostalgia?
Yeah, I guess.
So much memory?
It just does not burn the bottom. Like, I don't like getting any color on the bottom of the cookies, and it will not leave any mark, So
how do you process 6 cookies at a time, 250 for the total order, and the cookies don't get old? I mean,
no. I start usually about 3 days in advance for a big order like that. There's lots of different stages. So after I bake them, then I have all these containers that I put them in to keep them sealed, and then once I start doing the first layer, I'll set them out, and then they have to dry sometimes overnight before you put other colors on top of it. Then I put them back in the containers. There's a lot of moving around, couple stages of it. So I've got racks all over the counter, drying racks.
So stacking.
Yeah.
Making space on the counter. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. So you're hand drawing each and every single one of those sneakers. Mm-hmm. Not to call any previous customers out, but have you had any weird requests or unusual projects that you were sitting there making the cookie and you just thought, this is real life?
Yeah, I've had a couple like favorite things people wanted as gifts for birthdays, so it was just stuff that really didn't go together at all. Kind of drives me nuts. There has to be like some color scheme or something to go similar. There was one that was like the person liked cheese and White Claw and the Eagles, so there was no like color that made it flow. So I don't know, it was kind of random, but they liked it, so
it bothered
I'm okay with it
because together the assortment was so random and strange.
Right. Looking back though, it doesn't look terrible. It's just when you're involved in it, and when you look at something often, it's like you have to step away and then come back to it, and you're like, okay, it's not as bad as you think it is. So
you had mentioned that you had always liked to draw and be creative.
Yeah.
Is there other creative outlets you have or that you tried before you came to Happy Cookie?
Oh yeah, I always had like sketch pads when I was a kid. Nothing really major. I like building things also. Blush Boutique downtown just this couple weeks ago for the dazzling of the Christmas kind of window display. I painted on their window, so that was like a nice break. I like jumped on that. I'm like, yeah, let's do it, just to be out of the kitchen and doing something differently. So I've painted before. So.
Paint things and give them as gifts, or
not so much gifts, but just I guess gifts.
painting a gift for someone, or like writing something, and giving that is a special kind of nervous,
right?
Because not only in addition to what it might be like to buy somebody something, there's personal investment, and you feel it's like this nervous energy of, well, I hope they like it, and then you feel you can't help it. There's like an inevitable reflection on yourself.
Right. It's a relief a lot to give the stuff, or get a lot of times I'm like, get the cookies out of the house now, because you spent so much time looking at them that you're seeing every mistake and every little detail that you can't fix at that point. So it's just like, get them out. No one even notices. Yeah, kind of. I'm like, all right, like the sneakers. I said, I never want to see another Converse sneaker again. But then I did do another order of sneakers for them, so it was okay.
And then
just
it turned
had a little
out
break.
right.
Yeah, just needed a little break.
You did not lose your mind.
Right.
And shut down Happy Cookie over
right.
one more Converse.
I'm done.
Yeah.
No.
Do you feel that same feeling every time you turn over a batch of cookies?
Not every time. Some of them, I've gotten it down enough where I feel like I don't have to start as far in advance. So, I haven't spent that much time with them. So it's kind of.
I meant like the nervous energy of like, this is my self-expression.
Oh, yeah. I get worried that people aren't going to be happy with the order sometimes. But it's always a relief, though. When someone has a good reaction, that's nice.
And I assume typically you wouldn't hear back from people until later. You give the handoff, they see what they look like, but then they don't taste them until...
Right. Well, with social media and stuff, people, it's nice to see if someone posts a picture of them right away or makes a comment under one of the posts that I put. So it makes you feel like, okay, they liked them. They weren't just trying to be nice.
Yeah, your Facebook's blown up with good reviews.
Yeah, that's nice. There's a lot of nice people in town, so
you got some fans.
Yeah, I
guess.
And
you were telling me before the broadcast that this is picking up a very busy time of the year.
Yeah, I tried to not take as many orders November and December just to be able to do more. I do like pop-ups at Blush Boutique a lot, and sometimes I just do them from my house where I make X number of cookies, as many as I can get out, and then I'll post that I have them available, and then people will show up. So I don't have to be committed to certain things. I can kind of make whatever I want. So I tried to not take as many on this month, but I'm not really good at saying no. So
is it a lot of the same designs being Christmas time?
No, not really. Graduation for UNC. I've got baby shower cookies. There really hasn't been that many holiday cookies. Honestly, I did a pop-up a couple weeks ago at Blush, and that's where I made like all of my Christmas cookies. So that's about all I was offering for that. There's a few, like Elf on the Shelf, if you've heard of that.
I have.
Yeah, so I'm...
Very creepy phenomenon.
Right, it is strange. But I made little baking sets to put with the elf, and I also made little mini pizzas, like North Pole pizzas, so I'm going to make a couple more of those.
Why do you think Elf on the Shelf took off? I feel like this is a very...
It's like bribery, basically.
Do you know the backstory of Elf on the Shelf?
I think it was just a mom, created this story to tell her kids. And then
What is the story?
Basically, the elf, each family gets their own elf, and he reports back to Santa every night your behavior.
Oh, okay.
And so if he doesn't come back, then you were probably naughty and you need to work on some stuff. But then he'll bring gifts or activities, suggestions on let's go sledding or things like that. It's crazy.
So Elf on the Shelf is behind the enemy lines.
Right.
Spy for Santa.
Yeah.
Reporting back.
I know. We have an Elf on the Shelf, and I catch myself saying, oh, his name is Snowflake. I'm like, Snowflake's gonna go tell Santa. And then I'm like, you should be acting good all of the time. It's like a love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people hate it, so...
There's a very dichotomous reaction to Elf on the Shelf. People either love it and it's all over their Instagram, or people ixnay it and say, Elf on the Shelf will never be featured on a photo I post.
Right.
I personally don't have an Elf on the Shelf in my house. Well, maybe that means I've been very bad this year.
That's so funny. Well, yeah, it's a lot of work for the parents because they have to think of all these creative ideas. Sometimes I've seen ones where like the elf has a broken leg, so he can't move for like a week. So that's a good, they find ways to get out of having to find something every night to do for the elf. So yeah, it's nice. I need to use that one. Sorely here.
The parents
make like fake little casts for him. I'm like, oh, Snowflake has to rest for a week.
The parents are just like, I can't take it anymore.
Yeah, basically.
I didn't know you had to move Elf on the Shelf every day.
It's not, I think that's the idea of it, but if the kids have not been behaving, then he won't come back, like at my house.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, he didn't come back today. He must not have been good.
Yeah, Elf on the Shelf is in the storage permanently.
Yep.
You done messed up,
He's
kid.
in the North Pole permanently.
That's right.
Yeah.
You're just telling Santa about everything you did in July and May and April.
I know. I seriously stop and I'm like, you have to be good you should try to be good, not just because some weird elf is watching you.
Yeah, I'm the parent.
Yes.
Not the elf.
I know. The other day he brought pajamas, Christmas pajamas. And they're like, oh, Snowflake brought us pajamas. I'm like, actually, Mom and Dad bought those pajamas for you. He's just sitting by them. I started getting bitter about it. Like he was getting all the credit for all the fun stuff. I'm like, no, I did that.
For a while, Santa gets all the credit.
Right.
And Mom and Dad, it's like, I really wish Mom and Dad would give me presents that even half rivaled Santa's gifts.
Comparable, I know.
Every year.
I know.
Is that a strange... Did your kids believe in Santa?
They're pretty young, so yeah, they do right now. I have 5 and a 2-year-old, so...
Okay, they both still do.
Yeah. My parents actually dress up as Mr. and Mrs. Claus, so there's some confusion there sometimes when they see them. Last year, my 2-year-old, so she would have been like 1.5, kept saying, Papa, Nana, Papa? Like, she knew that they were not really Mr. and Mrs. Claus, but my son believed that they were. So, it's confusing.
4 or 5, right?
Yeah.
I mean, did you explain to her, it's like Halloween, they dress up like
right.
Mr.
No,
and
I
Mrs.
just
Claus.
played, I had no idea what she was talking about. I'm like, no, that's Mr. and Mrs. Claus.
Wow.
So, yeah, she kind of
the
quickly
deception.
got over it. I know. It's terrible. Elves and Santa and...
Are you bracing yourself for the eventual crushing realization
crushing of their souls
that the universe is going to flip meaning when Santa Claus is no longer real?
No, I haven't thought that far in advance. So I've seen a thing where I think it's a letter, I don't know, explaining that Santa is something in your heart, kind of softening the blow. Maybe I'll have to take that route.
Yeah.
I don't know.
When I was a kid, you'll worry about it when the time comes.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you can depict a Santa story on a set of cookies and give them to him.
Right.
It's real subtle that way.
Real subtle.
When I was a kid, we used to take letters and drop them off at Walmart to Santa. Mm-hmm. And now that I'm reaching back in my memory banks for the first time in many years, I can't remember if I ever got written back. I don't know if maybe they sent them to the parents and then the parent wrote back, or if there was someone at Walmart handwriting back. I don't know. That's very interesting. I don't think they do that anymore.
I don't think so.
Simpler time. We're talking early 90s here.
Now Santa will text you, send you an image of him creating the toys or something.
Santa will retweet your requests.
Yes.
Yeah, and your Instagram post.
Right.
And I remember I found out my mom found a way to write back as Santa, and I got the letter back as if it were coming back from Santa.
Right.
And it was a real subtle explanation. I'm not physically real, but I exist in spirit, and I'm part of the Christmas spirit.
Right.
And I remember rereading that letter 3 or 4 times and just thinking,
oh my God.
What? Trying to
life
make...
is a lie.
Well, I don't remember being upset.
Yeah.
But it definitely in my young child brain, there was a long road to realization. I was like, what does this mean? I think I even might have asked my mom.
Yeah, I'm sure.
What?
I can't even think of when I realized. I had older siblings, so they were always not ruining things for me. But they were pretty blunt with me, and we'd find the presents hidden in our parents' house, in the rooms before actual Christmas. So you knew that it had been the house for longer than Santa just bringing it. So I'm a realist, so I kind of am it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But Anyway, I love Christmas, so I go with it.
Man, you're a savage kid.
I know.
Thanks, Mom,
Grow up
Dad.
fast.
They were in the house, so.
Right, I saw them.
Your siblings were like...
I'm over it. Can you tell? I'm over it.
That's right. But now, you are building that for your kids.
Right.
And you are creating this world.
Yeah.
Christmas time doesn't necessarily mean that this is the only time of year we have to behave.
Right.
And I don't know if I'm being too picky about semantics, but something that's always struck me as ironic is like Christmas spirit. I have always wished we had a term for 365 day a year spirit, you know?
Right.
Christmas spirit.
People give a lot more this time of year, and it's like, should be doing this. Like, people need stuff throughout the whole year, so...
Like, I wish there were a season of music that lasted all year that made us more empathetic, more cheery to each other.
Right.
And this idea of Christmas spirit, I have always been frustrated that it was only segmented to this one time a year.
I had a former boss that he was kind of a grouch, but he was always nicer around Christmas, and he said he used to be a cop. He really loved Christmas because he felt like people seemed to just be nicer and happier around that time. So, you know, here's this guy who's kind of tough, you know, not super personable, and he would always just kind of change his tune around Christmas time. So it's kind of a neat thing.
So do you think it was, you know, like, how could we get this guy to feel that way all year?
I don't know. It's a good question.
You think it's a reaction to other people, or is it like, now I have an excuse to be happy, and so...
Probably a little bit of both.
I'm going to step up and be cheerful myself.
Probably both.
And maybe it's how some adults feel like we need an excuse to be silly and act like kids again.
Right.
Like to run around screaming and doing... It's like, oh, now I have children. Now I can be funny and silly again. Yeah. It's like, well, you could do that with your friends too. Just ignore all the social stuff. And, and being, you know.
It's just a totally different time too. It's all about appearances and what you post on social media and all, you know, it's mostly happy stuff or, you know, the best of your life versus the worst, which is good and bad, I think.
The listeners of the More NoCo are holding their breath because they know Ivan's about to jump off the ladder here into social media. But instead, I will turn left and ask you, have you had any interesting interactions with social media and the Happy Cookie?
I do like giveaways and stuff on social media, so that usually gets people going. You know, if you like the post, share the post. It's fun to see, like, who chooses to participate in that, like, to give away free cookies or something. There's some other local people that we do, like, giveaways together, like I've done with Blush Boutique, and Queen Wood Designs is a girl who makes wood signs. Her and I have teamed up and done giveaways, so it kind of gets their people and our people, like, to interact, get the same kind of fan base, I guess.
Right.
Is that a word? I don't know.
It's like cross-pollination.
Yeah, there you go.
A lot of it's awareness.
Yes, yeah. Thinking of doing more videos, maybe on Facebook. I don't know.
Do you have an Instagram?
I do, but I don't post as much on there.
So do you get a majority of your business through, like, personal contact or through your Facebook? Or
through Facebook anymore. It's not that I don't like talking on the phone, kind of, but I just like having things in writing so I can reference back to it, make sure, you know, I've got names spelled right, or I can see what we agreed upon versus having to remember a phone conversation. So I think people have gotten that figured out where Facebook is the best way to get a hold of me. So I've had people call randomly and ask, like, where my storefront is, and they're driving around trying to find the store, and I don't have a store. So it's kind of all laid out there for the most part on Facebook.
And I saw this repeat project you've been doing with a cookie cake. Yeah. And then you top it with really intricate toppings on top.
So it's basically a cookie cut in either like a number for anniversary or birthday, and then the frosting I use for that would be like cake frosting, like buttercream frosting, and it's layered. And then people tell me, you know, if they like white chocolate, dark chocolate, so I try to incorporate that into it, and with different candy and colors of things. So flowers, I put fresh flowers a lot, just kind of a fun alternative to cake or cupcake. So
starting this kind of business, has there been anything that surprised you, or something that you weren't ready for, that you just didn't expect, or you weren't, you know?
I'd say that it's been fairly consistent. I mean, I'm so happy. I feel like I have to turn orders down probably 5 times maybe sometimes a day. I mean, I am constantly getting messages. Yeah. And I am terrible at saying no, and I wish I could do all of the orders, but I have to get better about, I have 2 kids. I work part-time somewhere else. I have to get better at saying no. I need to figure time management too a little bit maybe, but I wish I could just sit and bake cookies all day long, but I can't do that.
Do you like your part-time gig? Is it an option to do Happy Cookie full-time?
My part-time gig is very part-time, so it's flexible. Yeah, I don't have, and it's stuff I can do from home a lot, so not a big deal. But I do think about just dropping everything else and going all in, maybe someday.
And have you enjoyed it? This entrepreneurial drive and being creative on your own? Yeah,
it's fun to think of different avenues. I did this pop-up at Blush, and it was Mr. and Mrs. Claus, where it was kind of Christmas themed. And so then I made a couple aprons. I have a Cricut machine, which a lot of people have anymore, but I made some aprons for kids that are baking related. So sometimes it's nice to just step out of the baking realm every once in a while and try to do something different. But, I love it. The second I think I can't do this anymore, then I get an order that gets me excited and I'm like, oh yeah, I want to do it. So it's sometimes you have to be all in. It's you want to be all in or just stop completely, because if you can't dedicate the time to what you want, how you want to make it, the quality you want to make it, sometimes it's it's not even worth halfway doing it. So I want to put my all into every order, which I feel for the most part I'm able to do. So
looking in the rearview mirror, do you have a favorite couple of projects that come to mind that were just mind-blowing and you just thought I don't even know how I'm going to do this, and then you achieved it and you were just proud? Or
I did one not too long ago it was a birthday for an orchestra teacher, I believe she was. And so I made some musical, instrument cookies. And I wasn't for sure how I was going to go about it, but I was pretty happy with how they turned out.
You made the cookie in the shape.
They were all, either rectangular or square, but I made different. I kind of made them look aged a little bit, sheet music. I put notes on it, and then I made brass instruments and flutes and things like that on them. So I liked that. Yeah. I feel the simpler orders I sometimes struggle with, a plain circle. It just does. I think it's because it doesn't challenge me, and so I'm not as into it. But the more complicated orders, same with cakes. I hate sheet cakes. I hate them because they're just so basic. A stacked tiered cake that looks like something, I feel isn't as much trouble for me to do.
You like the complexity, the challenge.
Yeah, and it seems they go smoother and they're easier almost than the more basic ones. So
well, it lets you exercise your creativity.
Yeah, it's really just, when I first started with cakes, it was just a vessel for me to decorate something on. I wasn't really, not that I wasn't into the flavor, but I wasn't exploring many flavors or I was worried about the taste. That sounds bad. I was not worried about it, but I was in it for the decorating. And then cookies, I feel once I got my recipe down where I wanted it, now it's just another vessel for me to be creative, decorate different styles on. So
I highly recommend that even if people are not big cookie eaters, that they roll over to your Facebook. And so what is your Facebook tag? People can find you.
Oh man, I don't even know what it is. It's just under the Happy Cookie. I think it's Happy Cookie Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah.
Instagram, probably the same?
Same thing, I think.
Okay. Anything you want to leave our listeners with as we say goodbye here on early December?
Well, just Merry Christmas to everybody. Get your elves on the shelves ready. Just kidding. But thank you for this opportunity. I want to thank you, and it's been awesome, and can't wait for more exciting orders. So
yeah, we'll see what you get.
Yeah.
We'll see if listeners of the show can give you an interesting
somebody challenge.
All right, I'm going to give a charge out there to listeners of the More You NoCo. Please hit up Nikki here at the Happy Cookie and give her a request that is going to let her stretch her creative legs, and we'll see what she can come up with.
Mind blown.
Do you also enjoy the music used here at the More You NoCo? I want to shout out my good friend Russell Isaac Long for always giving us those hot fire tracks. Are you looking for a little bit of bonus content in addition to the episodes of the More You NoCo? Check us out on Facebook or Instagram at the More You NoCo. Original, right? Don't worry, we'll be back soon. Until next time, peace!